Are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. This podcast is going to be a TikTok live, mainly because I haven't done one for a while and because it's the lazy man's way out. So, I'm going to live on TikTok right now and we'll get some questions from folks coming in. And we'll be talking about a bunch of stuff. We're getting in the home stretch here, the last 2 weeks before the election. And people are going crazy. I'm still getting people coming to my page and saying, "Oh my God, what's going to happen? This just happened. Is that the end? That just happened. Is that the end?" You people need to calm the fuck down. Everything is in play. Destiny is set. There isn't really anything that's going to screw anything up at this point. It's going to go as it's planned. And as it's planned, as destiny is, Donald Trump is going to get his ass kicked without question, without any question at all. I don't have a second thought on that. I really believe that's true. So we are here with the Rational Boomer podcast, and we're now starting to get people coming to the TikTok live very quickly. For those of you in TikTok live, I just want you to know I decided to do this because I hadn't done it in a while, didn't have anything particular in mind other than what's going on. And while I'm doing this TikTok live, I am also recording it. So it'll be the Rational Boomer podcast for Monday is when it'll come out. So that's what we're doing here. I'm up for any questions or comments. We've got at least one moderator out there, TJ the plumber. You get the Trumplafucks out here. The best thing to do is ignore them. They want to suck you into an argument, and then they want to create some bullshit. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't do anybody any good to do that. They're looking for a platform because they can't come up with a platform. Rocket 2 says he's going to win, man. I can't wait to watch your videos. Well, you're going to have a tough time doing that because I blocked that motherfucker. You're a Trumplafuck, you're gone. Um, but the thing about it is he's not going to win. Donald Trump doesn't have a prayer to win. There's no chance at all. Hey, Boomer, did you see? Hold on. Did you see the? Hold on. Hey, Boomer, did you see the Megyn Kelly talking about Kamala is losing? Megyn Kelly is a joke. That's what these people are going to do. They're going to say these things, hoping to carry the narrative, but it's already set in motion. You can't have all the things happening to Donald Trump and expect him to win. They're trying to convince themselves. They're not trying to convince us because we know better. It's going to be fun watching them because come November 6th, I'm going to be out here and I'm going to be giggling my ass off at the Trumplafucks, and they're going to be crying and whining. Trust me. So I have no question in my mind that Kamala Harris is going to win, and I'm pretty positive she's going to win in a big way. I won't go as far as saying a landslide, but it could be, but certainly decisive. It will be no question in anyone's mind as to who won this one. Do you still think Kamala's going to win? Yeah, which is what I just fucking said. Yeah, she's going to win. What would have changed my mind? Donald Trump's great campaign rallies or his great interviews and the stupid shit he says? What would possibly change my mind? That's what I don't understand. People keep coming to my page saying, "Oh, I'm worried now." About what? What's gone well for Donald Trump since 2020? What has caused him to gain voters? Not one fucking thing. And people are still worried. Marlene Cruz, may God hear you. I think he hears all of us. What about voting in GA? It looks from early voting he's ahead. No, it does not. It does not look like he's ahead in Georgia. We've got record amounts of people with early ballots, and the vast majority of those ballots came from Democratic areas. So I don't know where you're getting that he looks like he's winning in Georgia. Quite the opposite is true. I voted today in NC and vote straight blue. Way to go, Mike. Log Ray says, thank you for your opinions at Rational Boomer. Thank you for staying in touch. Cognitive dissonance. Get every sane legal voter to the polls to vote for Harris. It's all on us. It is. We need to get everyone out to vote. Get every sane legal voter. Yeah, we're going to get them out there. I think you're going to see a record amount of people who voted this year. 2020, we had a record amount. It's going to be bigger this year. I really believe that. All the money behind him from Elon is so sad. 108 billion. It's if that's correct. What could it do? Well, what could it do? 108 million. That's a lot of money. But remember, Kamala raised $1 billion in 80 days. Kamala's got way more money than him. The fact of the matter is, most of the money isn't going to the campaign with Donald Trump. Most of it is going to pay his legal costs. I'm praying for you, sir. Well, Kay Blair, you don't have to pray for me. I'm good. I'm cool. Greater Minnesota is red. It saddens me that farmers don't get it. Well, Chris, uh, I live in Minnesota too, and I know about those rural areas. And unfortunately, sad to say, some people are just fucking stupid. And they'll be crying on November 6th, but the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to be treated better and they're going to make out better. It's a matter of will they learn a lesson? Probably not, but they're going to have to deal with it. What about Georgia? Think she'll win? Yeah, I think she will win Georgia. Hi, Mike. I'm TJ, the plumber's wife. Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. Rebecca was on the Rational Boomer podcast with her husband, TJ, the plumber. You may want to check that out in the archives. It wasn't that long ago, but it's good to see you, Rebecca. Thanks for popping in and helping TJ out. Um, Chris Moore says, "Morning, love your program. Thank you very much. I appreciate that." Um, Trump embarrassed himself at the Catholic dinner. You think? Yeah, he embarrassed himself. He doesn't fucking get it. It's supposed to be funny, except he's not funny. He swore in front of these priests. He said some stupid shit, but is that surprising to anybody? I always say this. Let Donald Trump talk. Give him the mic every chance you can get because he will fuck himself over every time. And I've always been right. It's not that I'm brilliant. It's just that Donald Trump is very predictable. Derek Owen says, doubt very serious will win. After this week, she just doesn't have the people. Well, Derek, I don't know what the hell you're smoking, but you're going to have to smoke it yourself because I don't want to hear that shit. You're not bright enough to be in this conversation. All right. TJ the plumber says, please don't interact with the trolls. The mods will handle them. Yes, they will. They're nothing but a waste of time. You can't convince them of anything. Um, okay. This one's definitely going. Her name is Trump Girl. And she said, Kamala's not going to win. She's Antichrist. Shut up. Jesus Christ, you whining little punks. It's 2 weeks away, fellas and ladies. He's going to lose. He's going to be embarrassed. Then he's going to get sentenced. Then he's going on trial again. The motherfucker can't even remember to zip his pants. If that's the guy you're standing behind, you're in trouble. Um, Bookies are going to clean up with betting by the diaper armory. Yeah, somebody came to me and said, "Why are the bookies saying Trump will win?" Well, so they can clean out all the dumb Trumplafucks. That's how. Take their money. Donnie's going to hate it though because he wants all their money. He doesn't want them betting on his chances. If I could figure out a way to do it, I'd take bets here, but it's not legal. And how do you even do it? Take a bet from a Trumplafuck. Chances are you're not going to get paid anyway. But I'd be willing to uh, bet anybody $1,000 that Donald Trump loses. Anybody. JG Wentworth, Rational, may I join the chat box? No, I don't really have people join in the chat box, and here's why. Two reasons why. Uh, I will try to set up some lives where I can do that, but I've done that before. Unless I really know you, that's a dumb thing to do. I know because I did that dumb thing once. And secondly, as I'm doing this, I'm also recording it for the Rational Boomer podcast. Now, even if you were in the chat box on the on the live, it wouldn't show up on the podcast. So we've got these wide open spaces on the podcast where nobody knows what anything is going on. So I appreciate the offer, and I'll try to work something out where I do bring some people in the box, but I don't typically do that. They also said Obama was the Antichrist. Yeah, they did, didn't they? Trump on Fox and Fred says he's going to shut down the Department of Education. Yeah, wasn't that interesting? He said he was going to shut down the Department of Education. So then what are you going to do? And he said, oh, we're going to do something better, vouchers or whatever the fuck he said. But remember this. Back in 2016, he said he was going to shut down Obamacare, but don't worry because he's got a brand new plan, a better plan, a less expensive plan, a more inclusive plan. Here we are 9 years later. He still has no plan, but he has a concept of a plan. Here's the deal: people need to be protected with their medical needs. We need our kids to be educated. We can't wait to have Donald Trump dick around with concepts of ideas. He's a joke. He's an absolute joke. Um, much like Pake or Pocky says, good evening, Mike. Good evening. What world do you live in? She is going to lose. Uh, I live in reality, motherfucker. And now you've been sent to the fucking void. Hey, friend, I've not seen you. Is everything okay? I'm here every fucking day. I do anywhere from 3 to 8 TikToks every day. I do a podcast every day. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Facebook. I haven't gone anywhere. It's just the algorithm with TikTok. If you know anything of the Bible, Trump fits the description of the Antichrist. Melly, yeah, you're absolutely right. I do know a little bit about it, and there are many things that show. I don't know that he's the Antichrist. He's too stupid and too weak to be the Antichrist, is the way this person was described. But there are some parallels. You're absolutely right, Melly. Maria says, I'm concerned. I voted all blue, ease my stress. I feel like a psychiatrist sometimes because I get people coming to my page all the time and say, you're keeping me sane. You talk me off the ledge. Here's the thing, Maria, it's going to be over in 2 weeks. Everything is in motion. There's really nothing that can be done to change it right now. And there's nothing that suggests that Donald Trump will win, except maybe the polls. But again, the polls are always wrong, notoriously wrong. They were wrong in 2016. They were wrong in 2018. They were wrong in 20 and in 22. If the polls are wrong that frequently, why are we taking them as the gospel? Why don't we take actual data and decide who's supporting who? Like, for example, Kamala Harris raising 80 or $1 billion in 80 days, and Donald Trump raises a third of that. Kamala Harris has 400,000 volunteers all across the country. She has an amazing, maybe the best ground game ever. Donald Trump doesn't have a ground game at all. He doesn't have the money. Just taking those two things, does it make sense that the polls would be that close? Well, no, of course not. This is a bunch of Republican people cropping up with these polls to try to change the narrative. And they're not trying to do it to win the election. They can't do that. But what they're trying to do is make it look like he was so popular before the election. So afterwards they can complain, oh, it's fake, it's a hoax. See how big the polls were. Well, most of the polls, if not all the polls, are bullshit. We got a lot of Trumplefucks out there. I think TJ the plumber is in a frenetic state. I can't wait for Trump to be sentenced. Yeah, the sentencing for the Manhattan District thing is going to be happening 3 weeks after the election. He's going to be a sad boy leading up to that. It'll be interesting to see what he does and says. But what he won't be doing is planning to be the president. What he won't be doing anymore is he won't be a candidate for president. There's nothing left to protect him. He will be in fucking deep trouble. Trump was sent by, yeah. TJ the plumber said, go ahead and talk Trumplefucks because you're going to be blocked immediately. And if TJ doesn't do it, I'm doing it. Blue Tsunami, the voter turnout, the rally sizes, and the campaign donations prove Harris is going to win. You're absolutely right. Those are real details, real data that suggest the support for Kamala Harris. 10 new polling companies are explicitly pro Trump and have no data supporting their findings. Exactly. Exactly. Is it surprising to you that the Republicans would come up with some fake polls to make Donald Trump look good? That shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Let me tell you something they do have going on. There's a new PAC raising money, presumably for Kamala Harris. It's called Progress 2028. Now, it's supposed to be something contrasting Project 2025, and it's supposed to be for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. But here's the deal: this PAC is backed by Republican dark money. And in fact, Elon Musk has about $100 million in it too. So these fucks are so desperate, they've created a PAC, make it look like a Kamala Harris PAC. They're raising money because they apparently drained their own people already, and they're trying to gain money that way. The problem is the information got out. Everybody fucking knows. Can we talk about Kamala, how she's going to be the greatest president in American history? Primo, I will tell you this: as I watch her, and I actually liked her in 2019 too. I did. I thought she was sharper than Joe Biden just because she was younger and stronger. I'm happy with Joe Biden and what he did. But I can't say that I've ever been genuinely excited about a new president coming in. It always felt like they're all doing the same things, just in a different way. Kamala Harris to me is different, and I am excited. And she has the potential of being a great president. Um, like, for example, with Obama. Obama was a great president too in his own way, but he was the first one to do it, the first one to be a person of color. Now, Donald Trump has put us in such dire straits, people don't care about Kamala's color or her gender anymore. But a lot of barriers have been knocked down. The world is a different place, and she has the potential to do amazing stuff. And I think she has the courage and the motivation to do it. I think Obama held back sometimes. Kamala's not going to do that. We've got a mess to fix up. Even after she wins the election, we got to dig out of a deep hole. And my money's on her. I think she is going to be a great president. Um, Tina Tant says, Trump, you're spreading fake news. No, you're a dumbass. Do you think he will try to run away? I've argued about this with people. I don't know how he does it. He may try because he's a coward at heart. But here's the problem. Where's he going to go when nobody knows who he is? There's no place. If he runs, that would be illegal. The Secret Service is around him at all times, and they are arm of law enforcement. Now, if Secret Service allows him to leave or flee the country, they're going to be in some shit. So if they're going to let him leave the country, they better go with him. It's possible that he would run. That's common practice for a narcissist. When all this else has failed, they run away. I just don't know where he runs to. Some people would say Russia, but with Russia, you got to have something they want. And if you're not the president, you're running out of money. um, it's I don't know where he's going to run. Don't we have to win the electoral college? Yeah, every presidential election is with uh, the electoral college, but I'm not worried about that. People who typically vote red are struggling. Once they vote, they just can't vote for Trump. There are some Republicans out there that just can't stomach Donald Trump. That's true, no question. Great Captain is out there too. And Great Captain, I'm just going to tell you, if you're running across Trumplefucks, don't just mute them, block them, get rid of the motherfuckers. We don't want them. Muting doesn't do any good. They can still watch and whine about this to TikTok. We need to cut them off at the knees. Nikolai Kulev, stop spreading misinformation. Nikolai Kulev. Well, there's a there's a nice Republican name. Yeah, all trolls will be blocked. We're not fucking around with these people. It's too late in the game. Do you think Trump will go to jail? I'm not exactly sure how he doesn't go to jail. He's already been convicted 34 times. He's going to be sentenced 3 weeks after the election. There's nothing holding a judge back from sending him to jail. All the things he did shows he has no remorse. He went after the judge. He went after the judge's daughter. Yeah, he could go to jail for that. But if he doesn't go to jail for that, the other three crimes, other three sets of crimes that he's going on trial for, will definitely put him in jail if he survives. I mean, this guy isn't the healthiest motherfucker in the world. If Trump declares victory election night, I think Harris should declare victory right after he does. It doesn't matter if he declares victory. It's not even like 2020. People are going to be tired of his bullshit. He's not going to have the power or the strength to get away with some of the things he got away with last time. So I'm not worried about it. I think it's going to be pathetic, and uh, um, I think it's going to be. I'm sorry, I'm reading something from Gray Captain. Okay, Gray Captain, I'll trust you on that. I don't know. Um, All right, I'm just going to move on because I'm losing my place here. I feel like Donald Trump up in this bitch. Brad Cooney says 1 to 10, one being no way, 10 being definite yes, 100% Kamala wins. A 15. What is your number? I have no question in my mind. Thank you for always keeping us informed, sharing your views. Thank you for paying attention. Let's get busy. We don't have long to go, and we can get her over the finish line. Uh, all right. Great Captain. If blocking, Great Captain said, if we block too many people, it's going to affect our ratios. Are we talking about numbers and percentages of what went on with the? I don't give a fuck about that. I don't care. I don't care about the numbers. Don't forget, if your state has the abortion question, answer to protect women. Absolutely. And it's going to bring out a lot more Democrats, which means trouble for Donald Trump. What about Florida early vote? I don't know much about that. Does anybody? When does early voting start for Florida? And do we have any numbers for that? I haven't heard any yet. Uh, Ash Talk says down ballot votes are so important. Let's get rid of Cruz and Jordan. Absolutely. The down ballot is essential. We need to get Kamala elected, of course, but we need to give her the House and the Senate too. If we want to get some things done and dig out of the hole we're in, we got to give her the down ballot too. Vote blue from top to bottom. Teresa says, I don't know any Democrats that don't support Harris. A lot of Republicans don't support Trump. You're absolutely right. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If a Republican wants to win a presidential election, they need a unified party and they need a lot of independents. He's all right. We know he's lost a ton of independents and he doesn't have a unified party. No way he can win based on that. Um, let's see here. For Florida, will be voting all blue. I think, I do think Florida has a chance of going blue. There's just too many factors with Florida. There's the abortion question on the ballot. There is the marijuana question on the ballot. Ron DeSantis is an absolute dipstick. That state is being run poorly, and a lot of people are struggling. People can't buy insurance. People can't find employees to build things. They got a lot of problems in that state, and that's unfortunate because it's a beautiful state. This might be our very last election if Trump gets in because 2025 is real. He's saying it out loud. Well, don't worry. Um, okay, this is Kamala owned a couple of Trump-fucks in her rally when she said, "Oh, you're looking for the smaller rally. It's down the road." And people are saying that somebody said Jesus is king. That's not true. It was something else, but you're trying to do that to try and change the narrative. Listen, Trumplefucks, you're too stupid to do this. You're losing. You've been losing for 2 years. Every day you lose even more. What happened to RFK? He seems to be out of the mix. Yeah, that's what I told you. RFK was coming in. Everybody's upset about that. Oh my God. RFK is going to steal the Democrats from him. I told you he wouldn't, and I told you he wouldn't even be a factor, and he's not going to be a factor because he's too much of a fucking kook. Okay, they just put me live restricted for some viewers. I don't care. I feel so much about better about Harris winning when I hear you talk. Well, I'm pretty confident, and I've got a good track record. See, she's quick witted and she's cool. Yeah, she is. That's one thing I do like about her. She is sharp as a tack, and that's why Donald Trump won't debate her again. He'd get his ass kicked. But too often, people, when they're looking at this election or any election, they put their emotions into it. The media will come out and they'll play with you. They'll fuck with your heads. They just fuck with your heads because they want to keep you engaged and keep you watching their outlets. So they make you think it's a close race and make you think that all these problems are going to hurt Kamala Harris. What you got to do is take the emotions out of it. Don't listen to the bullshit from the media. Look at the facts. The facts will tell you everything, and the facts say Kamala wins easily. Regardless of what they said, they were heckling her. Absolutely. They were heckling her. They were trying to do what the Trump-fucks are trying to do here. They can't build a platform of their own. I'll guarantee you, any Trump-fuck you see come on this live, go to their profile and see how many followers they have. What, like 15, 20? They can't build a platform because they've got nothing to say, and what they do say is stupid. So they come on somebody else's platform in order to try to get attention. Trouble is, we know they're all stupid, so it's really not working for them. Um, that's exactly what they said. You know what? I don't even care what they said because I will tell you this. Even if that's what they said, one of our biggest problems in this country is the evangelicals. They claim to be religious, they claim to be supporting God or Jesus, and they're doing the opposite. They're absolute hypocrites. So I don't care what they said. You know what Donald Trump said about a heckler at his? He said that this girl's going to run home to mama and get her ass kicked, and he was all for it. Yeah. Is JD Vance the real threat? Depends on what you mean as a real threat. I think that looking at Donald Trump, his state of mind and his state of physicality, I think anybody be crazy to think that he's going to make it a full 4 years if he were elected. I think a lot of people know that. I think everybody knows that. So I think if you're a Republican, your vote is really for JD Vance being president. The only problem with JD Vance, he's less popular than Donald Trump. He's got an approval rating of like 27, 28, 30%. Uh, Uh, Laylee Bella says he isn't a factor. I think you're talking about RFK now. He's not a factor. He never was a factor, to be honest with you. Kiki Hatfield said they said lies. She said you're at the wrong rally. Yeah, see, that's what I'd heard. They didn't say anything about Jesus or God. You're trying to play this fucking religion card, and we're tired of it. Don't act like you're religious. You're fucking hypocrites, and you're enemies of this country. That makes more sense. And that's what I've heard. Kiki Hatfield said what they said was lies. And she said, you're at the wrong rally. That's exactly right. RFK is going to hurt Trump in Wisconsin. Well, he's not going to help. Yeah, I think he's still on the ballot. So, yeah, it's going to hurt him. Yeah, I saw this. This is Greta. She says Trump was at a rally talking about his favorite golfer, Arnold Palmer's large man part. I saw that video. Jesus Christ, read a room for God's sake. Do you ever think that Trump might come after you if he wins? First of all, he ain't going to win. Second of all, I would love to sit in a room with Donald Trump. Come after me. Fuck that. I tell you what, the thing is, I'm not afraid of any Trump-fucks because they're cowards. They're bullies and they're cowards. I've dealt with bullies many times in my life. And you know what? They all end up crying and they all end up running. And that's what's going to happen on November 6th. Um, Do you think they're running T as a backdoor way to get Vance as prez? I think some people are. I don't know that Donald Trump's in on the fucking gag, but I think some people are thinking that the tech bros, the Elon Musk, the Peter Thiel. Yeah, I think that's a definite possibility. What do you think about Arizona? Well, I think Arizona is much like Florida in many respects. I think Ruben Gallegos is going to kick the shit out of Kerry Lake, so we're going to get a solid Democrat in Arizona. Now, some people will say, well, we had a Democrat before. No, no. We had that cinema bitch. She wasn't a Democrat. So now we'll get Ruben Gallego, who's a legitimate Democrat, and Carrie Lake can't beat him. She's getting her ass kicked. I believe the abortion question is on the bill in Arizona too, and I think there's an excellent chance it will go blue. I think there is going to be a lot of states that the Republicans have counted on, and they are going to shit themselves when many of them flip blue. Because if, well, somebody says Pennsylvania is going blue. If Pennsylvania goes blue, Trump has no chance. North Carolina, Florida, any of those go blue or all of them go blue, Donald Trump is done and he loses in a walk. 45 has been losing his base for years. 45 win? Don't think so. No, you're right. As I've said before, in 2020, he lost by 7 million in the popular vote. Please, anybody, Trump-fucks included, tell me what Donald Trump has done since 2020 to gain votes. There's nothing. Everything he's done has cost him votes. So, in order for him to win in 2024, he's got to make up the 7 million he originally lost and whatever else people bail. I'm guessing, honestly, I think in the popular vote, it's going to be like more 14 or 15 million vote win for Kamala Harris, and it might even be bigger than that. And I think the electoral vote is going to be bigger than it was with Joe Biden. Pierre says, I'll be glad when all the baby boomers are gone. Hold on a second, Pierre. I'm a fucking baby boomer. I'm a young one, but I'm a baby boomer. Not all baby boomers are bad. I'll tell you this, on my TikTok, I have 382,000 followers. Many of them are baby boomers. Don't make a sweeping judgment on people any more that you would make sweeping judgments on people of color or religions or genders or it's not all people. You can't do that. Who's more kooky, Trump or RFK Jr.? RFK Jr. is kookier. Donald Trump is dumber. Do you think we'll know the election results night of the actual election? I think it's going to be big enough. We'll have a pretty good idea what's happening before by the next morning, I would think. What's your Trump on talk to Trump talking about Arnold Palmer's crank today? Well, he's running for president. You got to focus on those important issues, and Donald Trump is doing that. I know lots of awesome boomers. I know some awesome boomers too. Um, yeah, you can't make a judgment on everybody. We're not all the same. Granny Candy says, hey, I'm a baby boomer. That's right. We're fucking baby boomers out here. Not all the baby boomers are good ones. There are many baby boomers I fucking hate, but there are a lot of good ones too. Chris says, thank you for encouraging information. Thank you. FSB says, I'm one, meaning a baby boomer, and I'm for Harris all the way. Pat, most baby boomers I know are voting Democrat. That's true for me too. I know some that aren't. Candace, I consider myself a Christian, but I'm horrified by what Republicans have done. Agreed. I'm with you. I'm in the same boat. Greta says, I think it's going to be a blue wave. I don't believe it's going to be close. I don't believe it's going to be close either. There's no way it can be. Like I said, 80 days, Kamala raises $1 billion. Donald Trump raises like 300 million. What is more what is more of an illustration of support than people going into their own pocket, taking their hard-earned money and giving it to a candidate? That is the essence, the epitome of support. Polls, we don't know who's asking the questions. We don't know what questions they're asking. We don't know who they're asking. And we don't know what they're doing with the data once they have it. And they're notoriously wrong. But we believe them like it's coming straight from God, but it's not. It's all bullshit. It's all a game. It's all trying to affect the narrative and manipulate all of us. It seems like a lot of baby boomers vote for Trump. That could be, but not the vast majority. Um, what are you accomplishing by making that sweeping judgment? Nothing. I'm a 70-year-old baby boomer. Do you think that behind the scenes, the establishment Republicans are sabotaging Trump? I don't know if they're sabotaging him, but there's a lot walking away from him prior to the election, and there'll be more after the election. I think ultimately Donald Trump will be kicked to the curb. Um, they won't even consider him anymore. Do you think that Kamala will get more votes than Joe Biden did? I do, definitely. Joe Biden won with 81 million votes, more because people were terrified and hated Donald Trump. People didn't know what to expect with Joe Biden. Now, when he came in, we found out he's an absolutely wonderful president. I think if he was running again in this election, he would get more votes than he got in 81 when he got the 81 million. Kamala's a different situation. They hate Donald Trump more. They're more terrified of Donald Trump, and she may be the most popular presidential candidate in history. Again, logic and common sense tell you that there's going to be a record amount of people voting. Kamala's going to win, so she's going to go over 81 million. I just have that sense. Fardani says Trump is exhausted. He cannot continue. Well, isn't that interesting? He's canceling campaign rallies, he's canceling interviews, and they're saying he's exhausted. I've said this before. You know, when we're in the home stretch of this election, I really thought that Donald Trump would have dropped out before now. Not because he didn't want to become president, but because he's 78 years old. He's not in the best health. He has a lot hanging over his head with 34 convictions and all the money that he's hemorrhaging. That's hard for anybody to handle over a period of time, and for him to stand up to that is amazing. Now, I think the only reason he is holding up to it is because he's delusional and he doesn't really understand what kind of conditions he's in. I think he believes that he can pull this out in the end, pull a rabbit out of his ass, but he's going to be horribly disappointed on November 5th. Um, Baby boomer here in PA, here for the Democrats. Yeah, there's a lot of baby boomers for Democrats. Stop talking shit about baby boomers. I'm from the Jones generation. Yes, it is real. Grandma. Well, Grandma, technically, along the guidelines of what people have laid out, I guess I would be the generation Jones too. I was born in 1960, but I didn't see that till a year or two ago. We know that the baby boomers break down from 1946 to 1964. I was born in 60. So, for all intents and purposes, I am a baby boomer. Um, they call me Gigi. Hey, Pierre, watch your mouth. Baby boomer here, young one. I believe blue. Yeah, you see, Pierre, you got to watch your mouth because when you start talking shit about somebody other than the Trumplefucks, they're going to call you out. And we don't mean any harm or embarrassment to you, but just don't don't make general statements. Um, Mooney Peck, love that. I'm switching from saying I'm a boomer to I'm booming. I like that. Joe Mattis says I was born in '64, last of the boomers. Absolutely. They want Vance. I may lose my BFF of 36 years, Chasey. Well, Chasey, there's a lot of us who have lost family members and friends. There are some friends that I've known all my life that we had great times when we were young, and I know they're Trump humpers, and I just don't call them anymore. And the reason I don't do that is because, back in the day in high school and stuff, we didn't talk about politics, but we had a hell of a time. I'd hate to sit down with one of these people and end up hating this person and ruining all those great memories. So it's better just to stay away, just to stay away. Leave the memories intact and don't start some shit. Do you think Kamala will get more votes than Joe Biden? Yes, I do. I honestly do. Let's move ahead here. I'm not sure about Palmer's member, but his lemonade tea is pretty good. I will give you that. I will give you that. His tea is pretty good. As far as his appendage, don't fucking care. First of all, he's 100 now. So what does it matter? All right, moving on. I say Harris wins every swing state. A lot of people have said that. Um, and that's possible. I mean, I think it's going that badly for Donald Trump. And I hope that happens because then there's no question. They can whine and cry that the whole thing was rigged, but it will be such an overwhelming amount that it'll just seem ridiculous. It'll seem ridiculous anyway. So I'm not really worried about it. Bluebird says small dollars equal 1 billion. And that's a good point. The vast majority of the $1 billion raised by Kamala Harris is small donors. That means a lot of votes. Now, Donald Trump has 300 or 400 million recently in the last 80 days, and they come from a smaller amount of donors, big money donors, but they only factor into one vote. A guy gives $20 million, it's one vote. So the fact that there are small donors sending money to Kamala is a big difference. I don't know anyone who's been in a poll. I've never been asked to be in a poll. A lot of boomers out there. My parents are in their 80s, voting blue. My dad said Obama best president. I'm so grateful. Yeah, he's a smart man. I mean, if nothing else with Obama, we had 8 years of pretty relative calm. Nothing embarrassing happening. He did the job he was supposed to do. He wasn't able to do a lot of the work he wanted to do because of the obstructionist Republicans. The advantage Kamala will have over Obama is that she's going to beat Donald Trump easily. She's going to win on a mandate, but the down ballot's going to take some heat too. It's not just Donald Trump that's going down. He's burning down the Republican Party with them. Their strength will be minimized, and Kamala will have better opportunities to get things done, and she will be considered a great president. All right. Were polls ever legit? Seems like they had more cred in the past. Well, if I go back in history and I think about when I was young, there weren't a billion polls. There was like one or two. There was the Gallup poll. And I think they had more credibility. I don't know if they had more validity. I mean, polls are about trends, not about ultimate wins and losses. Um, if you're going to really do a poll, you can't just pick out 1,000 people and ask them the question. We've got a diverse country. We've got men, we've got women, we've got people of color, we got white people, we got people of different religions, Jewish folks, um, Christian folks, Muslims. We've got uh, people with different gender orientations. We've got LGBTQ. If you really want a good poll, you'd have to get a good diversity of all those people in the poll to get a real sense about what's going on in the country. And nobody's doing that. Nobody's fucking doing that. Nobody's also counting the fact that a lot of these people with the early ballots are new voters who have never voted before. How can you take a poll on somebody who's never voted before? That doesn't show up in the polls. Granny Candy says, I think most people are tired of racism. Yeah, I'm fucking tired of it. The whole thing, the whole concept is stupid, and I'm bored with it. Let's see here. Do you think Josh Hawley will lose his seat? I think he might. I don't know enough about what's going on down in Missouri, but the thing about it is Josh Hawley has Ted Cruz disease. It seems like everybody, including his colleagues in Congress, hate that motherfucker. And he's such a pussy ass bitch. Bernice says, what plans do you think we should put in place on the night of the election for Democrats? I mean, what should the Democrats do? Well, they have a lot of things that they have to do. They have to address the Supreme Court. They've got to get that figured out. In doing that, they may have to get rid of the filibuster. If they can do that, uh, one of the first things they have to do is they've got to codify Roe v. Wade. They should have done that years ago, but that's got to be top of the list as soon as they take control. And understand, on November 6th, they don't take control. The new Congress doesn't come in until January 3rd, and the president isn't inaugurated till January 20th of 2025. So in January 20th of 2025, that's when the real action can start happening. My 75-year-old mom is voting for Harris and terrified Trump could win. Well, tell her to rest easy. You ain't going to win. Boomers brought up by the lost generation don't vote for a dictator. Yeah. Many of us thought he'd be kicked to the curb after 2020. Well, he should have been. And I will tell you this now, after November 5th, a lot of Republicans will regret not doing it. I think one of the people that's most responsible for the burning down of the Republican Party will be Kevin McCarthy. When Donald Trump left and sulked off to Mar-a-Lago, they should have let him there, stew for a while, and then forgotten about him. But they couldn't do that. So Kevin McCarthy goes down, kisses the ring, and brings him back in the fold. That will prove to be the worst mistake the Republicans have ever made. And they're going to learn that lesson on November 5th. Oliver's mom, some say she could get to 100 million. That sounds crazy, but it's distinctly possible. Grandma says, I'm from California, lifelong Democrat. Mama Cindy, wondering why Trump has been talking with Putin 7 times lately. Well, I think we all would like to know, but they've all been kept secretive, which a president or a private citizen should not be doing. As a private citizen, we have the Logan Act, something I've never seen anybody prosecuted for, so I don't know if it's even that strong a thing. But yeah, there are some hinky things about him talking to Putin on the side, on the DL. McTallpants, my parents are boomers. My dad voted Republican in every election he ever voted in until Trump. Well, good. I don't hate Republicans, but I think we as a country are growing out of the whole conservative concept. Um, we spent 45, 50 years dealing with this trickle down thing that Ronald Reagan tried to sell us. And in all those years, it's never proven to be right. Um, so now that we've got 50 years in and we know what's what, then then I think it's important to kick it aside and do something different. I think Joe Biden opened Pandora's box and proved the Republicans wrong when he started sending things down to uh, the middle class and it helping the economy. We were always told by the Republicans that wouldn't work, but it did work. So when Kamala gets in, we will be able to do that sort of thing. I got another warning out here, moderator, so keep me posted as to how things are going. Christina, I don't know why he wants to cut Social Security or anything else that helps people. Well, the Social Security thing will never get cut because there's too many people who depend on it. It will put people in dire straits. Um, I don't see that happening. Certainly, the Democrats aren't going to do it. The Republicans love to talk shit, but the Republicans learned a lesson with Roe v. Wade. They kept talking about, "I'm going to, we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade," and they talked about this for decades, like 50 years. They talked about it, and it was always something good to run on and fundraise on. But then later on, they were like the dog that caught the bus. They didn't know what to do with it. They overturned Roe v. Wade just before the midterms. Everybody was saying it was going to be a red wave. I said, no, it's not, because you can't overturn Roe v. Wade and win an election. Turns out 2022 was not a red wave. And that Roe v. Wade decision is going to impact 2024 as much as anything, if not the most important thing. How are you feeling about the Senate race? Well, it depends on which one you're talking about. I personally think that the Democrats will hold control of of the Senate. Raquel says, "Hi, Mike. Hey, Raquel, how you doing? Um, what's going to happen to Jim Jordan? Please say he'll quit or go to jail." Well, Jim Jordan is running again, and there's a woman who was on my podcast, and I can't remember her name, is running against him. I don't know if she has the wherewithal to beat him. But after the election, he is certainly one of those folks that might be in line for an indictment, because he was certainly part of the insurrection on January 6th. We know that he spoke, because he admitted it, spoke to Donald Trump prior to, during, and after the insurrection. He's got some things to say, and he no doubt is responsible for some crimes. Yeah, I wouldn't bet on Jim Jordan's future. I don't think it's going to go well. Does President Biden do anything in terms of EOs before he leaves office? Well, that's interesting. One thing he should. There's kind of an open spot. January 3rd, we get a new Congress. Presumably, it's going to be Democrat. So between January 3rd and January 20th, Joe Biden's still the president. So with a sympathetic Congress and the immunity benefits that Joe Biden now has, he could do a lot of shit. And here's one thing I hope he does, just to rub it in their face. See, he can get away with a lot of stuff in that 17-day period, and it won't rub off on Kamala Harris. She's already won the election, and Joe Biden is just on the way out. But he should pardon. Pardon Hunter, because that's just bullshit. I've never seen so many cross-party lines to vote for the other candidate. Now I'm a boomer. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of Republicans. Let's be honest, Donald Trump is an embarrassment. Just the stupid things he says. Um, there's there's a lot of people that are just getting tired of it. Um, User 95269 says Tammy Wilson. That's right. Tammy Wilson is running against Jim Jordan, and she was on the Rational Boomer podcast some time back. By the way, if you don't already listen to the Rational Boomer podcast, I hope that you do. It's real easy to find. We do a podcast every night. This TikTok Live will be a podcast for tomorrow or Sunday, depending on when you're listening to this. All you have to do is go to Spotify, and you can get the audio version of the Rational Boomer podcast. Every night it goes up um, right after midnight. If you want the video version of it, just go to YouTube. TJ the plumber says, Mike, things are stable. The TF are getting blocked. Thank you. Um, the real estate, the realist Morning Star, I think, will pick up Texas and Florida for the Senate. I think that's a distinct possibility. I think Florida's in line to turn blue. I think Rick Scott is the dirtiest piece of shit there is, and he has a distinct chance of losing. And Ted Cruz, I think, is going to lose. I hope he does. All right, we're moving along. Goat Bartender says, I love your commentary. Thank you. When will Trump ever be held accountable? Well, he's going to be held accountable on November 5th. 3 weeks later, he's going to be sentenced in his 34 felony convictions. And then he's going to have to start dealing with other trials and lawsuits and money and all this stuff without the protection of being the candidate. Jim Jordan's district is super gerrymandered. Yeah, I don't doubt it. You know, people like Jim Jordan and Lauren Boebert may still win because we've got a bunch of dumb fucks in those districts. Um, and they just keep voting for the same shit. Grace says, what about Mike Johnson? I know a lot of people are worried about, well, Mike Johnson will be the Speaker of the House and they won't certify the election. Listen to what I said. Without question, the Democrats are going to win the House of Representatives in a big way, maybe by 20, 30, 40 seats. It's going to be big. So on January 3rd, we get a new Congress. And if Democrats hold the House, which they most certainly will, Mike Johnson ain't shit. Mike Johnson isn't going to be the Speaker of the House. Hakeem Jeffries will be. Tao of Now, Tammy Wilson running against Jordan. That's right. Thank you for that heads up. Um, Bender 38 US, Blair Cohen at Blair Cohen. Normally, a reckoning is coming. Yeah, I think once this is all done, it will be kind of a reckoning. There's been all this people dancing around, walking on eggshells because of this election coming up, and once it's behind us, there's nothing holding anybody back from indictments and trials and all this sort of thing. I think we are going to find a lot more sitting members of Congress, maybe Ginny Thomas, maybe Roger Stone, maybe Steve Bannon, those folks. They're going to get indictments and shit is going to start falling on them once this election is over. It's sad that we have to wait till after the election, but apparently that's what it's going to fucking take. My last favor from Biden would be for him to pardon his son, Hunter, actually. Bo's dead. But yeah, pardon Hunter. Do you think Joe will pardon Hunter? I don't know. He said he wouldn't, but he's a politician, so that could change. I think he should. It's destiny that Dumpy Trumpy will lose. His MAGA fucks are losing or close in reelection bids. Yeah, but the only way you can really determine whether it's close or not are polls, and we know for a fact that polls lie. And what do you think the October surprise might be? I think we've seen a lot of October surprises. We're coming up on 10/20. You want an October surprise that we haven't already seen? You better fucking hurry up. Why does Harris always have to explain her policy and Trump doesn't? It's a good question because the media never forces him to. I've said this before. If we had real journalists who held people's feet to the fire when they lie, Donald Trump would not be president, would never have been president, and would not be running for president. The media saw he was a winner when it came to ratings, so they just let him get away with whatever he wanted. They never pressed him, they never cornered him, they never held his feet to the fire. So you can blame that directly on the media, and that's another thing that I'm going to be focusing on or partially focusing on after the election. If I am right, Kamala wins in a big way or even a landslide. We need to address the media because if I'm here sitting in my living room and I can see that, we need to understand why the media, with all their resources and all their money, couldn't see it. Now, they're either just don't have great sources and they don't know what they're doing, or they're specifically trying to manipulate us so they can whip up people so they get more views. And if that's what they're doing, they're of no value to us. There's no reason to watch them anymore. There are plenty of people on the internet, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, whatever, that are telling the truth. So stop watching the bullshit. Um, Mike, things are stable. The Trump fucks are getting blocked. Way to go, TJ. The world is sick of Trump. Yeah, people are just tired of it. Even Republicans uh, are tired of it. Are you going to be alive during election night? I was thinking about that. I think I probably will. Typically, when there's a big event, I like to do a live after the event so we can talk about it. I don't want to be drawing attention away from what we should be focused on, whether it be a debate or an interview or something like that. But that election's going to be ongoing. So I think I probably will do a live on November 5th. Now, I'm going to give a talk to some folks on November 7th. So I'm going to Washington, D.C. I'm excited about that. I get to go to Washington, D.C. on November 7th, 2 days after Donald Trump gets his ass kicked. It's going to be fun. How much influence will Taylor Swift have on the election? I think she has some with the younger women specifically. Doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. I think um, Donald Trump has more influence on Kamala winning than anybody else because he keeps fucking up. Um, Thank you for the work you do. It's not work. It's I enjoy doing this. What do you think she'll do about the Supreme Court? That's a good question. She can try to stack the Supreme Court by adding more Supreme Court members, but they may have to get rid of the filibuster to do that. So it'll depend on how they do in far as their majorities in the House and the Senate. Personally, what I would do, I would go to Clarence Thomas and say, "Look, bitch, you're going to get an indictment. If you want to get away clear and live the next 10 years that's left of your life without going to jail, you need to retire right now. Let Kamala replace her. Maybe do the same to Sam Alito and Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh, we found out, is seated as a Supreme Court justice. FBI was blocked from doing any kind of investigation, and he's got some dirty shit going on. We need to do that investigation. And if we find some shit, he needs to go too. I could see President Biden issuing some EOs that have to deal with the Supreme Court. Yeah, yeah, I think he's a little pissed off about that. And that would be a nice way to set things up. He could set the ball in motion, and then Kamala can continue the ball rolling without taking the heat that Biden would. What do you think about the Supreme Court? I think she should add more judges, or at least go to those crooked judges and said, listen, DOJ's coming after your shit. You got two choices: be dragged through the mud, have all the evidence exposed, or you could just retire and we'll forget about you. How long will it take them to announce the winner on November 5th? Well, a lot of people say it'll take a couple days, maybe a week. I honestly think the turnout's going to be so great and it's going to be so obvious that if they don't announce on November 5th, we'll have a pretty good idea what's going on. Uh, Deanetta says, good evening, new here. Well, welcome, Deanetta. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. um, the Trump effects are going to act a fool. Well, yeah, but they're pretty weak. A lot of people are worried about, well, are they going to do a January 6th again? No, they're not. They're not. There's not going to be any violence like that again. And the big reason is that when they did it in 2020, Donald Trump was still the president. He could do everything he wanted to protect him, and they did. It's not the case this time around. Joe Biden is the president. They aren't going to get that protection. They see a bunch of Trump-fucks headed toward the Capitol. You're going to see a bunch of drones and the National Guard there waiting for the motherfuckers. Says you're a breath of fresh air. Thank you. Well, thank you. Those are kind words. Mike Johnson has to go. Tommy Two Tone. Well, Tommy Two Tone, he's going. It's inevitable. Raquel says something is seriously and truly wrong with Trump. Yeah, I think he has some physical issues. He certainly has some mental issues. I'm surprised that he's made it this far. Honestly, I am. Apparently, he's part cockroach because he can get through anything. But it's really starting to show. I think he's starting to crack now. It seemed to have gotten worse as of lately. Hakeem is a minority leader now. He'll rise to the majority leader. Not only the majority leader, he'll rise to the Speaker of the House, too, because they'll certainly put him in as Speaker of the House. Did Trump say he wasn't going to take a paycheck again if he wins? No, I don't think he said that. And let's be honest, whether he took a paycheck or not, who knows? He fucking constantly lies. And he grifted the whole country anyway. I mean, he had Secret Service staying in his hotels and charging three times as much and grifting all of us and our tax money. Whether he took the salary or not, he made millions and millions of dollars while he was president. Kelly Girl says we need a whole new Republican Party. Well, they need to build a whole new Republican Party because what they have doesn't look anything like the original Republican Party. And they're not going to get anywhere if they stick with MAGA. Melly MC says, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to come across my FYP. Your content is so refreshing. Well, Melly, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I I'm very appreciative of anybody that follows me and listens. So thank you very much. Gerrymandering should be done away with. What are your thoughts? Yeah, the whole gerrymandering thing is just a way to rig elections in favor of Republicans mostly, but don't understand that Democrats do it too. I think the whole game should be tossed aside. That shouldn't be decided by parties. I think that, or by government. I also think the filibuster should be thrown out. We should have a majority rule here, whether it's a simple majority or a super majority. The filibuster is just another way to not get things done, and it's old, it's antiquated, and we're tired of the shit. They went too far when they overturned Roe v. Wade. This is galvanizing us for Dems to vote. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was the death knell for the Republican Party, overturning Roe v. Wade. They want to back off of it, but they can't. They're in a bad spot. They know the vast majority of the people are against them regarding overturning Roe v. Wade. But if they back off of it, say they're wrong and change their stance, then their whole base is going to dump them too. So whether they go one way or the other, they fucking lose. And they know it. It was dumb. What's your opinion on Marjorie Taylor Greene reelection? I hope she doesn't win. Yeah, I hope she doesn't win either. I think she's nervous. And the reason I know she's nervous is because she had the audacity and stupidity to say that Dominion voting machines was changing votes from Republican to Democrat in her district. Well, she's up against a guy who was in the military. He was a general. He's very formidable. He's very smart. And I think he's going to do pretty well against Marjorie Taylor Greene. But Margie's not the brightest woman in the world. If Dominion sued Fox and won almost $800 million, is suing everybody else, does she not think that Dominion's going to sue her? She won't have a job in Congress and she will be destroyed financially. She deserves what she gets. Um, moving on. Absolutely, they used him for ratings and they're complicit. I agree. The media is complicit in most of the problems we've dealt with over the past 9 years. Lots of extreme Republicans are not getting reelected. I trust the fundraising over the polls. Absolutely. What are the chances of Don Old conceding after the election? I would say zero. He's a narcissist. They can never admit they're wrong. They can never admit they lost. He'll never concede, but who cares? I love how the Republicans always say, well, he never conceded, like that means anything. Just because you didn't concede doesn't mean you didn't lose. It's fucking childish. Bam Bam TikTok says, not thinking too far ahead, but Donald doesn't run in 2028. Who's the Republican nominee? Donald is not going to run in 2028. I don't think he'll be with us by that time. He'll either be in jail or not on this plane. And I don't know that it matters who the Republican candidate's going to be. Things are going to go well for the Democrats and Kamala. The way the Republican Party has been burned down, it may take 10 years for them to come back and even be competitive in elections. I don't know who the Republican candidate would be. It doesn't matter. They're going to fucking lose. Boomer, so happy to see you alive. I think Kamala will break 100 million votes. Eve on the beach. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think that's a distinct possibility. Raquel says, I appreciate your insight and honesty. It's true and refreshing. Thank you, Raquel. I appreciate that. Um, I think Kamala will break 100 million. Yeah, I tend to agree. I feel like Trump will continue to troll Kamala while she's in office and MSN will eat it up. You know, Donald Trump's going to be so fucking busy. He's going to be in court virtually every fucking day. He may very well be in jail. Donald Trump's lost his mind already, but it's going to get worse after the election. You know, when he's talking shit about Kamala after the election, it's going to be like some crazy guy down on the street corner yelling at a lamppost. Nobody's going to fucking care. It will be nice if you could be on live stream on November 5th. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll be on live stream on November 5th. I'll just be sitting here watching like everybody else, and I might as well come on and do a live. Brian Williams, I need you to join my high school class Socratic seminars. My students would benefit greatly. I am not sure what the Socratic seminar. I mean, I know who Socrates is. Um, Well, Brian, if there's any way I can help out, I always help out. Can't get my own kids to listen to my shit. So if I could get other kids to listen, that'd be great. The media makes their money by creating fear, confusion, and division. Liberal Gen Boom. You're absolutely right. It's all about trying to get views and make money. It has nothing to do with helping this country or the people in it. And it certainly doesn't have anything to do with journalism. Elizabeth Warren said earlier that she believes they will have the votes to remove the filibuster. Well, I hope she's right because that filibuster bullshit's got to go. Did you hear the latest about Mr. Palmer? I did. And the last thing I want to I want to imagine is a guy who's essentially 100 years old and what his appendage looks like. Jesus Christ. Biden has nothing to lose by pardoning his son. Just do it. I agree. Fuck them. Piss off the Republicans. Alito, too, and Roberts is dirtier than we thought. You're absolutely right. Virtually all six of those people have some issues. They have no business. Um, they have no business being on the bench. Brian Williams says, "How about term limits on the Supreme Court?" Absolutely. To give, let's be honest. The reason they gave them lifetime appointments is so they wouldn't become political. Well, they become political, so now there's no reason not to have term limits. You know, you get a Supreme Court justice who's 95 years old and can't wipe his ass. You want him making big decisions? Definitely uh, term limits. A lot of people are going down. I'd have to agree. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be unhappy after this is all said and done. Rachel says, I listen to you every day. Thank you very much. They need to do term limits for those judges. Absolutely. I agree completely. Do you think CNN is slowly moving to the right? Oh, by the way, thanks for your insights on real issues. Well, CNN has moved to the right. I think they're trying to give the impression of being in the middle, but they're not. Um, what these networks do is going to depend a lot on November 5th. If the Republicans and Donald Trump and MAGA go down in flames, watch these networks like CNN and everybody else flip their whole message. They'll just go any way they've got to go to get listeners. They can't be trusted. I took off the 5th through the 8th because stress. Well, Glenn, don't stress out. She's going to win. Can they put a gag order on Trump? He's got a gag order. He's tried to get this gag order taken off, but he still has a gag order. He's going to have the gag order on until he gets sentenced, which is after the election. Time Traveler says, what is your opinion of what the majorities will look like in Congress after the election? Like I said, I think the House will have an extra 20 to 40, 40 seat majority in the House. I think that's the case. The Senate, it's a little harder to tell, but I'm hoping they have at least what they have now, maybe add a couple. And I think that's distinctly possible with the way things are looking with the Senate races. Nick Clay says the only thing about stacking the Supreme Court is the Republicans could do the same when back in power. You know, that's always the complaint. Well, they might just do it too. I'm going to tell you something right now. With what the Republicans have done to their party, they're not going to be back in power for a long time. They fuck themselves. They burned their party to the ground, and they're going to have to come back, but they're going to have to come back looking different. Keep in mind, in 2024, the millennials and Gen Zs are going to play a big part in this election. But in 2028, they are going to be the majority voting bloc. And 70 to 75 of these people don't vote Republican. The Republicans are going to have to come back and be more of a moderate group if they want to get any votes from young people. So I'm not too worried about them trying to stack the court. And frankly, even if they did stack the court, I'm all for um, more people in the Supreme Court because here's the deal: when there's 9 in there. It's too easy for the Republicans or the Democrats to get a full majority and do the things they're doing. So the more we have, the harder it is for somebody just to hijack the Supreme Court. Do you think Trump will ever be held accountable? Of course. He's going to lose in November. He's going to be sentenced 3 weeks after the election. And then he's going to go on trial for 3 more things. He's going to have to pay a $500 million for his lawsuits. Yeah. How does MAGA not understand what Project 2025 will mean? They know exactly what it means. They want that. They want that. They want to destroy our government, and it's all about power for them. They know exactly what it is. Gentle Giant Ace, hey from Erie. Hey, how you doing, Gentle Giant? Once Wisconsin and Michigan go blue, we will be in good standing. The big dog PA will. Jimmy Carter got to vote for Kamala. Absolutely. Jimmy Carter is maybe the greatest man to ever hold the presidency. He may not have been considered the greatest president because of the circumstances of that time period. I was alive at that point. I was not voting, but the economy sucked. Gas prices were high. There was a fake gas shortage. There was the Iranian terrorists who were holding Americans hostage. There was a lot of bad things going on. But during his time as president and after that time, since 1980 to now, there's been no former president that's been a greater humanitarian and actually put his money where his mouth is than Jimmy Carter. Uh, Gene says pictures from his crowd looks like there's a lot of empty seats. Yeah, he's having trouble getting crowds. Election day violence thoughts. I don't think there's going to be any major violence. There'll be maybe some crazy people doing stupid shit, but that will be put down pretty quickly. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. Somebody said to me, "Oh, you're going to go to Washington, D.C. on November 7th. There's going to be riots all over the place." No, they're not. They're not. Trumplefucks are pussy ass bitches. They've got no control, they've got no power, and Joe Biden will put down anything that crops up. Eve on the Beach says they will not get close to the Capitol this time. They'll be ready for them. Absolutely. Analytical Iowan says Trump's exhausted. Don't forget he's sleeping during his trial. Yeah, I mean, he's an old fucking man. He's up all night long. He eats like shit. He's jetting all around the country. Like I've said before, if I take a flight from here to Savannah, I'm fucking tired when I get off. If I spend 2 hours with my granddaughter like I did earlier today, I'm fucking tired. And I'm 64. There's no one, there's no one that's 78 years old in the condition Donald Trump is where he can't be just absolutely exhausted. But I think there's more to it. I think he has some health problems that he hasn't talked about because, of course, his doctor says he's the most fit man in history. Just look at the motherfucker. He is not fit. As much as they talk about Trump poaching the black vote, we will support Harris at least 89% watch. Yeah. This bullshit about Donald Trump getting the black vote or the Hispanic vote is absolutely ridiculous. It's just games that the media is playing to try to scare people, and it's not fucking working. Um, they sell watches, Bibles, sneakers, mugs, t-shirts, hats, junk. Yeah. Here's a guy who's a billionaire and he wants to sell you $100,000 watch that was probably $3 to make. Everything bad Trump will do. Well, the orange man will wear an orange jumpsuit. Yeah, I think that's distinctly possible. Michelle says you're a very smart man. It depends on who you talk to. You talk to my sons, they wouldn't agree with you. I know certain things, a certain amount of certain things. Uh, Smart is all relative. Why Elon Musk paying hundreds to Trump's supporters? Well, he's got money on the table with Donald Trump winning. With Donald Trump winning, he has a chance as a big money business guy to control some things, not only through Donald Trump, but kicking Donald Trump out and then JD Vance. Here's the biggest kiss ass in the world. He's not very popular. He's young. He could be president for a long time if he got in there, and they can control him. That's why. Karina says, I watch all your TikToks. Thank you, Karina. I appreciate that. Violence at the polls, thoughts? No, there's not going to be any violence at the polls. There might be a rare occurrence with a crazy individual, but nothing of any major problems. Raquel says he's so corrupt. It makes me mad that he's allowed so much privilege. Why? I don't understand why. Um, the thing is that the reason everybody gets away from everything and everybody's gone, oh my God, no. It's all about this election. And everybody, Merrick Garland and the FBI and all this stuff, they're afraid they're going to look political or there's going to be an excuse used. Well, they only did this because it's political. So they dance around, they walk on eggshells up until the election. But once the election is over, there's nothing to protect Donald Trump. He will be in his most vulnerable state. And then shit's going to start raining down on him, the sitting members of Congress. Paul Turner says, I'm always in a state of panic until I listen to you. Thanks for grounding us all. Well, thank you, Paul. And there's nothing to worry about. You can't worry about those things you can't control. We've done a lot of work over the last 2 years, 4 years for me. Um, all we can do is expect the best turnout. And that's what I do. I'm looking at facts, not the whole emotional part of it. You got to try to take the emotions out of it because the emotions just fuck with your head. That's all they do. Look at the facts, and the facts will tell you, what to expect. Um, is Elon's $100 for a vote legal? I don't think it is. It depends on how they couched it. Uh, El Toro says you're easy to listen to, plus you're right all the time. Well, I'm not right all the time, but I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. I have no problem with being wrong. I've been married 41 years. I guarantee you, and I have two grown children and a granddaughter. And I guarantee you on a daily basis, they always point out when I'm wrong. So I've got a thick skin when it comes to being wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? I'll just say, okay, I'm wrong. Now let's look at what we got to deal with now. All I'm really doing is taking the facts and analyzing them to the best of my ability. I can't always be right. But if I'm smart about it and I take the emotion out of it and I look at the facts and weigh the facts, I'm going to be right more often than not. And that's all anybody could hope for. Um, Tips on nails. I watched Michael Cohen's lives. He said it. It was spot on. Michael Cohen does a good job too. It's funny. I've listened to some of Michael Cohen's podcasts, just parts of them, and he gets a little wired up, man. He gets a little intense. I like the guy as a podcaster. I think when he was working for Donald Trump, he was a piece of shit. He was a piece of shit, and I hope it's true that he's changed his stripes. But if I was dealing with Michael Cohen, I'd watch my wallet just based on his history. How do you feel about setting term limits on members of Congress? Absolutely, there should be term limits on members of Congress, but that will never happen. And you know why? Because the people that have to decide to put term limits on the members of Congress are the members of Congress. They have to vote on it, and they're never going to do that to themselves. Do you think we'll ever get APAC out of our politics? Not just APAC. We got to get money out of our politics. You know, Citizens United had made it so anybody can do anything and anybody can pour as much money as they want into anything. We've got to somehow get money out of politics, and then that would affect APAC too. Dominion is watching closely and will take action if needed. Yeah, there's no question about that. They can maybe make another 800 million. On MTG, I'm very familiar with the district. They are heavy Trumpers. Yeah, not surprised. Not surprised that they are heavy Trumpers, but fuck them. If you want, look, I don't really care if Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the House, but the Democrats have the majority. I don't really care. In fact, maybe it's better. Wouldn't you rather have somebody who's useless and doesn't do anything in a Republican seat as opposed to somebody that might be good. As long as the Democrats have the majority, who gives a fuck? She'll just spin around and probably ultimately get exiled out of the motherfucking place. Do you think it hurt Kamala when he told Christians they were wrong at the rally? Well, Brian, that's not what she said. You're listening to Republican rhetoric. I think Kamala's fine. Stop looking for fucking things to worry about. Um, do you follow Drayton Nay and Dr. Arlene Unfiltered? Corrine is asking, Jeannie. I think I follow Drayton Nay, but Arlene Unfiltered I do follow. In fact, just a couple of days back, Arlene Unfiltered was on the Rational Boomer podcast. If you hadn't heard that, you should check it out. What are Lauren Boeber's chances for reelection? I don't know. I thought initially it wasn't good, and then some people said it is good. But again, as long as the Democrats have the majority in the House, I don't really give a shit. That'll just be a wasted seat. And when she does crazy shit, they'll probably censor her and kick her out of there ultimately. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go another 5 minutes or so. We're going to wrap things up. I've been here for an hour and a half, and I feel lucky when I get past an hour. Continuing on, do you think we will ever get APAC? Yeah, I think we'll get all money out if the Democrats have anything to say about it. How soon do you think Pete B will be president? Well, I think he could be president. And I would say if he's going to be president, depending on what happens between now and then, it would be probably 2032 because Kamala is going to win in 2024. Um, and then she'll run again in 2028 and likely win there. And then she can't run anymore. Then it will be 2032. So that's when we'll see a new Democrat running for the presidency. And it could very well be Pete Buttigieg. Boomer's perspective is tremendous. Boomer keeps me sane in a world of insanity. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Gas is down, groceries coming down, corporate greed is being exposed. Yeah, they love to talk about how bad the economy is. We got records in the stock market. We've got unemployment down to record lows. We got manufacturing up, wages up. We've got the GDP going up. The economy is fine. Are there people who are struggling every day? Yeah, there is. But you know why they're struggling? Because nobody pays people enough money. The minimum wage is at $7. There's been no pressure on big companies to pay people livable wages. And you know why that is? It's not because of the Democrats, it's because of the Republicans. You're worried about bringing prices down. I think we should be more worried about getting people's incomes raised up so they can live their lives, buy the products everybody is selling. See, that's what people don't understand. If you pay people more money, two things happen. They buy more shit, which drives the economy, and they pay more taxes, which drives the government. So it makes sense to pay these people more money. The Republicans don't want to pay anybody any money because they want to benefit the rich people. Well, let me just say this. If you own a big company and you can't pay a livable wage in order to make money, then you're not much of a fucking businessman. Republicans are using Trump just like Trump had used everybody. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. They used him, and they'll kick him to the curb once he's of no value, and that will be November 6th. I got my twin millennial daughters listening to you. Hey, I got two millennial sons, so I'm right with you there. Uh, Ladies, thank you for listening. I appreciate that because I guarantee you, if your millennial daughters are listening, if I start talking to my millennial sons, they roll their eyes and go, "Oh Jesus, here we go." So thank you. I appreciate you millennials for tuning in. I wonder if Trump is connected to Diddy. If he's not connected to Diddy, he's connected to something akin to what Diddy did. I mean, let's be honest. 26 women have accused him of sexual assault. He's been adjudicated for committing sexual assault. He was in lawsuit with a co-defendant, being Jeffrey Epstein, regarding the rape of a 13-year-old girl. Yeah, I think there's some deep, dark secrets there. And if they ever get out, Donald Trump is done for good and he will go to jail. Um, I like the Midas Touch. Yeah, I like Midas Touch too. I do listen to the Midas Touch now and again. They're one of the places you can go to get the truth. I'm going to do this talk in Washington, D.C. on November 7th through the 10th. And there are two TikTokers that are going to be giving talks out there too that I'm really looking forward to listening to and meeting. Um, there are a lot of people that talk about politics and news on TikTok. I don't respect or trust all of them, but there are a couple that do, and they'll be at this talk. Number one is Glenn Kirshner, the former prosecutor. You see him here all the time. Sharp guy. I'm looking forward to meeting him. And then there's V from Under the Desk News. She's going to be out there too, and I have a lot of respect for her. I think she does a great job. Is a possible Dems game gain up to three, maybe four? It's possible. It's definitely possible. I'd like to see him get more than that, even. What do you think will happen to Biden? Well, he's 82 years old. He needs to go relax, spend time with his grandkids, spend time with his wife, and stop working, for God's sake. He's worked all his life. He's entitled to some time off and enjoy what's left of his life. Trump should not be speaking to Netanyahu. You're absolutely right. But you have to understand Netanyahu is basically a mini Trump. As soon as he ends that war, that motherfucker's going to jail. So that's why he's keeping the war going. The only way the Republicans come back into power quickly is if the Dems blow it. Yeah, even then it's going to be hard, but you're right. If the Dems blow it, I don't know how they would do that. But I won't say that the Dems aren't capable of doing that. You know, I just don't see the Republicans being able to come back very, very quickly because they're just too broken. How have we come to this? Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, very not well people leading our country. I'll tell you how. And this is something that's been fixed by way of Donald Trump, and we can thank him for. The reason we are where we are right now is because of apathy, all of us. We didn't get involved, we didn't listen, and we just let the government do whatever they wanted. And they did whatever they wanted, they got away with it, and they just felt like they were entitled to it. Donald Trump comes along, causes all these problems, and now we're all engaged. We're all talking about this. We're aware of it. The important thing, and that's thanks to Donald Trump, as much of a fuck as he is. So we all got to take that for what it's worth. We all got to maintain this attention and this awareness of what's going on in the government. We've given them we've given them free reign to do whatever they want. We see where it's put us. Now let's learn a lesson. And after the Democrats win, we need to focus on the Republicans, but we really need to focus on the Democrats. They're going to be an interesting situation. They're not going to have a lot of pressure on them. They're going to have a lot of power. And sometimes when you give politicians power, they get lazy and they go, well, I'm doing good. I don't have to do anything. We got to keep talking. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep holding their feet to the fire to make sure they do what they said they're going to do. President Carter is the best human to ever hold the office. Yeah, I don't deny that. I don't deny that. I think you're probably right. All right. What I'm going to do now is wrap up this live. And I want to thank you all for joining me. It's been a wonderful thing that you folks have come through and are willing to listen, ask questions, interact, and such. Again, I want to encourage you to check out the Rational Boomer podcast. I do a podcast every day. It's an hour, hour and a half. It's sometimes just me. A lot of times it is a guest. And here's what you have to understand who the guest is. The guest is always a listener of the podcast. That means anybody listening to the podcast has the option to be on the show if they want to. All you have to do is email me at rationalboomer@gmail.com. We'll talk a bit and then we'll set up a time for you to come on the show. Just don't fuck it up. No, I'm kidding. You'll be fine. We've never really had a problem with that. But we do have guests, and they're usually listeners that come on. Sometimes I will do these TikTok lives like we're doing here now, and I've recorded it. So I will put this up as tomorrow's podcast. So if you haven't heard the whole live, you can go listen to the podcast. But if you want to find the podcast, all you have to do is go to Spotify. There's the audio version of the podcast there. Just search Rational Boomer, you'll find it. If you want the video version of the podcast, all you have to do is go to YouTube and search for Rational Boomer. Now on YouTube, you not only get the podcast, but you also get all of the TikToks too. I take them from TikTok and put them on YouTube so those folks can see it. And by the way, I'm doing something with the audio version of the podcast. In addition to the podcast, I'm doing something called not a podcast. And basically, I take all the TikToks, put them together, and put out a 10 to 15 minute short podcast of all my TikToks. So no matter where you are, you can get a hold of what we're talking about on the TikToks and, of course, on the podcast. So I want to thank you all for taking the time to spend with me here. I do truly appreciate it. I'll be back again with another live, not too distant future, and I will do one on November 5th because that's going to be fucking fun. So have a great night. Thank you for stopping by, and we will talk to you soon. All right. Now we've stopped the live, and we still have the Rational Boomer podcast going. Almost forgot. Damn it, I'm getting old. I forget shit. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor the fact here. Just lost my video. Now we're back. Okay, so I'm not going to belabor the fact and talk any further. We talked about a lot of shit. We've got more podcasts coming up, so just stick with us. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.